The massive crystalline doors of the Galactic Council's Grand Hall parted silently as Ambassador Li Jinwu took his first steps into what many considered the heart of galactic civilization. The chamber stretched upward for what seemed like kilometers, its transparent walls revealing the stunning vista of three suns setting simultaneously over the horizon of Capital World. Jinwu's footsteps echoed across the polished floor as he approached the central podium. He felt the weight of countless alien eyes upon him, some with multiple pairs, others with singular organs that seemed to pierce right through his diplomatic composure. The gallery seats rose in concentric circles around him, filled with representatives from over 500 species that made up the Galactic Council. The human small delegation looked remarkably plain compared to the exotic array of beings surrounding them. Fleet Admiral Park Meirui walked 2 steps behind Jinwu, her crisp white uniform standing out against the rainbow of colors and bioluminescent displays from the alien representatives. Commander Kim Ta-young followed, carrying a data tablet containing Earth's defense reports. Supreme Counselor Krath's entrance caused a ripple of movement through the chamber. His species, the Drachnid, were among the oldest members of the Council. His metallic scales caught the light as he moved, creating patterns that seemed to hypnotize those who stared too long. The cybernetic enhancements along his spine pulsed with a soft blue glow as he took his position at the highest point of the chamber. Ambassador Li Jinwu of Earth, Krath's voice resonated through the chamber, translated simultaneously into hundreds of languages. You stand before this council to answer for your species' actions. Jinwu bowed slightly, exactly the degree appropriate for a junior member addressing the Supreme Counselor. We are honored to be heard, Supreme Counselor. Honor. A harsh laugh came from one of the upper tiers. Humans speak of honor while they build war fleets in secret. Admiral Park's hand tightened on her ceremonial sword, but her face remained neutral. They had expected hostility, but the open antagonism was surprising. Krath raised one scaled hand, silencing the chamber. Our monitoring stations have detected unusual energy signatures from your shipyards at Mars, Titan, and Europa. The output suggests military vessel construction far exceeding your allocated quotas as a Class 3 civilization. Jinwu allowed himself a small smile. Supreme Counselor, with respect, the Treaty of Proxima Centauri allows for defensive fleet expansion proportional to colonial territory, our recent settlement of the Trappist system. We are well aware of the treaty terms, Krath interrupted, which is why this council has reached a decision. Humanity has exceeded its allocated military growth. This is not a debate, Ambassador. This is a notification. The chamber's temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Commander Kim's tablet trembled slightly in his hands as he pulled up the relevant defense protocols. You will submit your finest warship for evaluation, Krath continued, his scales now shifting to a darker shade that the humans had learned to associate with absolute authority. A full inspection and combat demonstration will be required. Should your vessel fail to meet Council standards, immediate sanctions will be placed on all human colonial expansion. Admiral Park stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. Supreme Counselor, under Article 7 of the Military Transparency Act, we have the right to. You have the right to accept or refuse. Krath cut her off. Choose carefully, Admiral. Your species' future among the stars depends on this decision. Jinwu felt hundreds of alien minds focused on him, waiting for humanity's response. Behind him, he heard Admiral Park's almost imperceptible whisper, "We're ready." He straightened his back, making eye contact with Krath's compound eyes. Supreme Counselor, honored members of the Council, humanity accepts your challenge. We will present our vessel in 30 standard cycles. A murmur ran through the chamber, some of surprise, others of amusement. Krath's scales rippled with an emotion the humans couldn't quite interpret. 30 cycles is granted, Krath declared. Be aware, Ambassador, this evaluation will be thorough. We have seen many young species rise and fall based on their military capabilities. Choose your vessel wisely. As Jinwoo led his delegation out of the chamber, Admiral Park fell into step beside him. "They're scared," she whispered. "They've detected the quantum signatures from Project Aurora." "Good," Jinwoo replied, his voice equally low. "Let them worry. In 30 cycles, they'll learn exactly what humanity is capable of." The crystalline doors sealed behind them with a final, resonant tone. In 30 cycles, the galaxy would witness either humanity's greatest triumph or its most humiliating defeat. As they walked toward their shuttle, Jinwoo couldn't help but smile. The Council had no idea what they had just started. 20 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean's surface, in a cavern large enough to house a small city, Admiral Park watched the holographic display with intense focus. The massive chamber, carved from the Earth's crust using technology reverse-engineered from ancient alien ruins, hummed with the power needed to maintain humanity's greatest secret. Project Aurora floated in the air before her, rendered in stunning detail by quantum holographic projectors. The warship's design broke every rule of conventional alien spacecraft architecture. Where Council vessels favored broad, flat surfaces and obvious weapon placements, Aurora was all sharp angles and hidden compartments. Its hull, composed of materials that hadn't even been named yet, seemed to drink in the light rather than reflect it. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Captain Choi Yunho's voice echoed slightly in the vast chamber. He approached the hologram, his boots clicking against the polished floor. The Aurora patch on his shoulder caught the light, a simplified silhouette of the ship emerging from a stylized sunrise. Admiral Park nodded without taking her eyes off the display. "Show me the quantum drive modifications." The hologram shifted, peeling back layers of the ship's structure to reveal its heart. The quantum drive core pulsed with simulated energy, its unique configuration unlike anything the Council races had developed. Where they used brute force to tear holes in space-time, Aurora's drive gently persuaded reality to bend. "The drive is fully operational," Captain Choi reported, manipulating the hologram with practiced gestures. "We've completed 17 successful test jumps in the Jupiter Shadow Zone. The Council's sensor net didn't detect a single one." "And the AI integration?" The hologram shifted again, revealing a complex network of neural pathways running throughout the ship's structure. "AIA is performing beyond our highest expectations. She's achieved a level of integration we didn't think possible for at least another decade." As if summoned by her name, a soft voice filled the chamber. "That's kind of you, Captain, but I still have much to learn." Araya's avatar materialized beside the ship's hologram, a simple sphere of shifting light that pulsed in time with her words. Admiral Park smiled slightly. "Your modesty protocols are working well, Araya. How are the crew adaptations coming along?" "The neural links are functioning at optimal levels," Araya reported. "The crew's response times during combat simulations have improved by 300% since initial testing. We're approaching the theoretical limits of human reaction speed." Captain Choi stepped closer to the hologram, pointing out specific sections. The special modifications exceeded all benchmarks. The metamaterial cloaking system can now maintain full coverage even during weapons fire. The phase shift torpedoes are stable, and the quantum entanglement targeting system hasn't missed a shot in over 1,000 trials. "And the Council suspects nothing?" Admiral Park asked, though she already knew the answer. "The false readings we've been broadcasting from the decoy shipyards are working perfectly," Choi confirmed. "Their spy satellites are exactly where we want them, seeing exactly what we want them to see." Admiral Park walked around the hologram, studying the ship from every angle. 20 years of work, trillions in resources, and the combined efforts of Earth's finest minds had produced something unprecedented. A warship that didn't just match alien technology, but leaped several generations ahead of it. "Araya, run simulation Theta 9 again," she commanded. "I want to see the energy dispersion patterns during full combat operations." The hologram exploded into action, showing Aurora engaging multiple hostile vessels. The ship moved like a dancer, its advanced systems working in perfect harmony. Every feature that made it special was hidden until the moment it was needed, weapon ports appearing and disappearing in microseconds, hull plates shifting to redirect energy, quantum fields bending weapon fire away from vital systems. "The crew is ready," Captain Choi said quietly. "We've run every possible scenario. The ship exceeds all specifications. We're as prepared as we'll ever be." Admiral Park finally turned away from the hologram, facing Choi directly. "The Council thinks they're calling our bluff. They expect us to either back down or present some primitive attempt at copying their technology. When Aurora arrives for their inspection, it will change everything." "Should we be concerned about their reaction?" Choi asked. "This will prove we've been keeping secrets." "Of course we have." Admiral Park smiled. "Just as they have. The difference is, our secrets are better." Araya's avatar pulsed thoughtfully. "Based on my analysis of Council psychology, there is a 92% probability that the demonstration will result in significant political upheaval." "Good," Admiral Park said firmly. "It's time the galaxy learned that humanity isn't just another young species to be patronized and controlled. In 30 cycles, we'll show them exactly what we're capable of." She looked up at the massive shape of Aurora, now fully constructed and waiting in its berth behind the hologram. In the dim light, its hull seemed to shift and move, as if the ship itself was eager to reveal its true nature to the galaxy. "Prepare for final systems check," she ordered. "I want every component tested and verified before we make our appearance. The Council wanted to see humanity's finest warship. Let's make sure they never forget what they see." The crystalline spires of Centauri Prime stretched toward the purple sky, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 suns in a dazzling display. Inside the Council's military headquarters, a structure that dominated the capital's skyline, High Marshal Dren examined the holographic specifications floating before him with growing amusement. The data stream from Earth was pathetically simple: basic hull configurations, standard weapon placements, and propulsion systems that made his inner membranes quiver with derision. Around the circular command chamber, his staff officers maintained their professional composure, but he could sense their shared sentiment. Lieutenant Song He-Newell stood quietly in her position as a junior diplomatic liaison, her dark uniform bearing the markings of an Earth observer. She kept her expression carefully neutral as she made notes on her datapad, appearing to be nothing more than another bureaucrat recording the proceedings. "Look at these power readings." Dren gestured at the specifications with one of his primary appendages. "They claim this is their finest warship. My personal yacht generates more energy." His secondary breathing vents pulsed with amusement, a gesture his species used to show contempt. Commander Vax, his chief tactical officer, moved closer to examine the data. "The weapon systems are particularly primitive, High Marshal. They're still using particle accelerators for their main guns. We abandoned that technology 3 centuries ago." "Perhaps they believe quantity can compensate for quality," another officer suggested, indicating the number of weapon emplacements listed. "They've crowded their hull with so many guns, it's a wonder they have room for a crew." He-Newell's fingers moved steadily across her datapad, appearing to take dutiful notes. In reality, she was encoding every word of their conversation into a quantum-encrypted transmission. The tiny device hidden beneath her uniform collar, disguised as a standard translator, was picking up far more than just voiced opinions. Dren expanded the hologram, focusing on the ship's engine configuration. "Their approach to space warfare is so predictable. All brute force and no finesse. This inspection will be over before it begins." "Should we prepare the full evaluation fleet, High Marshal?" Commander Vax asked. "The protocols call for at least 3 capital ships to oversee the demonstrations." "Send 2 destroyers," Dren waved dismissively. "No need to waste resources. Their ship barely qualifies as a destroyer by our standards. This inspection will finally put humanity in their rightful place among the younger races." He-Newell's heart raced slightly at their casual dismissal, but years of training kept her outward appearance perfectly calm. The quantum transmitter continued its work, sending bursts of data through channels the Council hadn't even discovered yet. "Hi, Marshal," she spoke up, her voice carefully modulated to show appropriate deference. "The Earth delegation has requested clarification on the specific parameters of the combat demonstrations." Dren turned his sensor clusters toward her, the bioluminescent patterns on his skin showing mild irritation at the interruption. "Standard evaluation protocols will be sufficient. Basic maneuverability tests, weapons accuracy demonstrations, and if their ship somehow manages to complete those, we might consider a simulated engagement." "Very generous of you, High Marshal." Newell bowed slightly. "I'll inform my superiors immediately." "Tell them to be prompt," Dren added. "The Council has more important matters to attend to than watching humans fumble with technology they'd barely understand." As Newell left the chamber, she allowed herself a small smile. The quantum transmitter had picked up everything, not just their words, but detailed scans of their current military deployments, defense configurations, and most importantly, their expectations. In her quarters, secured against surveillance by technology the Council believed impossible for humans to develop, she prepared her full report. The quantum encryption would ensure it reached Earth Command instantly, undetected by any monitoring systems. "Arrogance confirmed," she typed. "They're sending minimal forces. Combat parameters will follow standard evaluation protocols. High Marshal Dren is personally overseeing the inspection. Recommend proceeding with Operation Thunderclap." She paused, then added a personal note. "They're not just underestimating us. They're completely blind to their own vulnerabilities. Everything is proceeding exactly as we predicted." The response came back almost instantly. "Understood. Maintain position. Continue feeding their overconfidence. Aurora launches in 20 cycles." Newell deleted both messages and restored her datapad to its diplomatic functions. Outside her window, the three suns of Centauri Prime continued their eternal dance across the purple sky. Soon, those same suns would witness something unprecedented. The day humanity showed the galaxy that appearances could be deceiving. In the military headquarters above, High Marshal Dren continued to entertain his staff with jokes about human technology, completely unaware that every word was being transmitted across space, every gesture recorded, every plan noted. The trap was set, not by the Council, as they believed, but by the very species they were so eager to put in its place. Space rippled like disturbed water as Aurora tore through the fabric of reality, emerging precisely at the designated coordinates in the Proxima Centauri system. The massive warships of Obsidian Hull seemed to drink in the light from the nearby stars, making it appear more like a void in space than a solid object. Captain Choi stood at the center of Aurora's bridge, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the main display. The bridge itself was unlike anything in human or alien military history. No traditional stations or consoles, just a seamless integration of crew, AI, and ship systems through neural interfaces. "ARIA, status report," he commanded softly. The AI's response echoed through the neural link shared by all bridge crew. "All systems optimal, Captain. The quantum drive cooldown is proceeding as expected. No damage from the transition. Council vessels detected approaching from Vector 317. Lieutenant Yoon Ji-hoo, standing at her position to the captain's right, mentally adjusted the main display to show the approaching ships. Two Council destroyers flanked a smaller inspection vessel, their designs following the typical blocky, utilitarian aesthetic favored by the galactic community. "They're scanning us," Yoon reported, a slight smile playing at her lips. "Their sensors are having trouble getting clear readings through our hull material." Captain Choi nodded. "Just as planned. ARIA, maintain the surface camouflage. Let them see exactly what we want them to see, for now." The inspection vessel drew alongside Aurora, its size making their ship look deceptively massive. In reality, much of Aurora's apparent bulk was an elaborate deception, hiding its true form until the right moment. Senior Evaluator Myth led the inspection team through Aurora's airlock, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light as he moved. His assistants followed, their sensor devices already actively scanning everything in sight. Captain Choi, Myth's translator, rendered his clicks and whistles into human speech. We are here to conduct a thorough evaluation of your vessel's capabilities. The condescension in his tone was clear, even through the translation. Of course, Choi bowed slightly. We're honored to demonstrate humanity's achievements. Lieutenant Yoon will conduct your tour. As they moved through the ship's corridors, Myth's team grew increasingly confused. Their scanning devices kept showing contradictory readings, and the ship's layout seemed to defy conventional spatial logic. These readings can't be correct, one of Myth's assistants muttered. The power signatures don't match any known configuration. Lieutenant Yoon led them to the Weapons Control Center, a spherical chamber that seemed to float independently of the ship's structure. This is where we coordinate our defense systems, she explained. Would you like a demonstration? Without waiting for a response, she interfaced with the ship's systems. The chamber came alive with holographic displays, showing real-time tracking of every object within a light-year radius. Standard targeting demonstration, she announced. ARIA, initiate sequence alpha. What followed made the alien inspector's crystalline forms vibrate with shock. The point defense system engaged, tracking, and targeting thousands of simulated threats simultaneously. The reaction times were beyond anything their species had achieved. Impossible, Myth muttered, his translator struggling to convey his disbelief. These reaction times, they violate fundamental principles of neural processing. Yoon smiled. Would you like to see the actual combat systems in action? The demonstration that followed shattered every preconception the Council representatives had about human military technology. Aurora's defensive systems didn't just match Council standards, they operated on principles the aliens had never imagined. This can't be right, Myth's chief engineer insisted, reviewing the combat simulation data for the third time. No organic crew could interface with systems at this speed. The energy requirements alone would. Would what? Captain Choi asked innocently, having joined the tour. Perhaps there are aspects of physics your people haven't fully explored yet. Myth's crystalline form shifted colors rapidly, a sign of intense agitation. These capabilities were not listed in the specifications you provided to the Council. We provided exactly what was required, Choi replied smoothly. If you made assumptions about our technological limitations, that's hardly our responsibility. The inspection team huddled together, speaking rapidly in their native language. Their sensors continued to report impossible readings, their understanding of human capabilities crumbling with each new revelation. The Council will need to review this data, Myth finally announced. These demonstrations exceed the parameters we expected to evaluate. Captain Choi's smile never wavered. Of course, and we haven't even shown you our special modifications yet. Shall we continue the tour? The aliens followed, their previous condescension replaced by growing unease. They had come expecting to put humanity in its place. Instead, they were beginning to realize that perhaps they had never understood humanity's true place at all. The tension in Aurora's command center could have been cut with a knife as High Marshal Dren's holographic form towered over the bridge crew. His bioluminescent patterns pulsed with barely contained fury after reviewing the inspection team's reports. This is unprecedented, Dren's translated voice boomed through the speakers. Your demonstrations have raised serious concerns about the accuracy of your previous technological disclosures to the Council. Captain Choi stood calmly before the projection, his hands clasped behind his back. The neural interface connecting him to Aurora thrummed with quiet energy as ARIA monitored every fluctuation in the alien commander's speech patterns. We demand a live demonstration, Dren continued, his outer membranes flaring. Your Aurora against our finest destroyer, the Stellar Blade. No simulations, no controlled tests, real combat conditions. In the depths of Earth Command, 20 kilometers beneath the Pacific, Admiral Park watched the exchange through Aurora's quantum-linked feeds. Her fingers traced the edge of her command console as she considered the implications. This was the moment they had prepared for, but the stakes were higher than anyone outside the project could imagine. "Your response, Captain," Dren demanded, his translator struggling to convey the mix of challenge and contempt in his voice. Captain Choi turned slightly, his neural link allowing him to see Admiral Park's subtle nod through the quantum feed. "We accept your challenge, High Marshal." Throughout Aurora's sleek interior, crew members moved with practiced precision to their battle stations. Engineer Yang Min-seo's hands danced across her hybrid interface station, her neural link allowing her to simultaneously monitor hundreds of systems. "Primary quantum core showing green," she reported, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. "Metamaterial shields charging. Phase shift capacitors at maximum." Lieutenant Yoon's weapons control sphere hummed to life around her as she interfaced with the targeting systems. "All weapon systems online. ARIA has confirmed target acquisition protocols." The stellar blade emerged from its holding position, its massive form dwarfing Aurora. The Council destroyer was a testament to their military philosophy: overwhelming size, obvious power, and brutal efficiency. Its hull bristled with weapon emplacements, and its engines could level small moons. "Beginning combat approach," Dren announced with smug satisfaction. "We will demonstrate proper military protocols for ship-to-ship engagement." Captain Choi allowed himself a small smile. "Understood, High Marshal. Aurora will follow your lead." Through their neural links, the crew felt ARIA's presence strengthen, the AI's consciousness merging more deeply with their own. They had trained for this moment countless times, but this would be their first true test against Council military technology. "Engineering reports all systems ready," Yang announced, her fingers never stopping their intricate dance across the controls. "Quantum field stabilizers are primed." The massive form of the stellar blade grew larger in their visual feeds as it maneuvered into position. Its weapon ports were already cycling open, preparing for what they assumed would be a swift demonstration of Council superiority. "They're powering up their main guns," Yoon reported calmly. "Energy readings suggest they're not planning to hold back." Admiral Park's voice came through their neural links, clear and confident. "Remember your training. Show them what humanity can do." The space between the two ships crackled with building energy as the stellar blade's weapons reached full charge. Their sensors detected targeting locks, shield analysis, and the standard Council combat algorithms attempting to predict their responses. "They expect us to follow conventional combat protocols." ARIA's thoughts merged with the crew's consciousness. Their tactical computers are programmed to counter standard evasive maneuvers. Captain Choi's smile widened slightly. "Then let's show them something new. Engineer Yang, bring our special modifications online. Lieutenant Yoon, prepare to execute Maneuver Phoenix. ARIA, initiate full combat protocols." Throughout Aurora's systems, hidden technologies began to wake. Quantum fields shifted, reality bent, and the true nature of humanity's greatest warship prepared to reveal itself. High Marshal Dren's voice came through one final time. "Begin combat demonstration." The crew of Aurora moved as one, their neural links allowing perfect coordination. They weren't just going to survive this demonstration. They were about to rewrite the galaxy's understanding of what a warship could be. Engineer Yang's fingers flew across her console one last time, activating systems that the Council didn't even have words to describe. "All special systems online, Captain. Aurora is ready." "Then let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget," Captain Choi commanded, as the first salvos from the stellar blade lit up the space between the ships. The void between the two warships erupted in blinding light as the stellar blade launched its opening salvo. Dozens of plasma torpedoes streaked across space, their brilliant blue trails creating a web of destruction that no ship should have been able to escape. Captain Choi felt Aurora's systems respond through his neural link, the ship's consciousness merging with her crew's. "Now show them what we can do." Execute Maneuver Phoenix. What happened next defied the laws of physics as the Council understood them. Aurora didn't just dodge the incoming fire. She danced through it. The ship twisted in ways that should have torn it apart, its experimental inertial dampeners allowing movements that made seasoned Council gunners stare in disbelief. Impossible. High Marshal Dren's voice crackled over the comm. No ship that size can move like that. Lieutenant Hume's fingers flew across her neural interface as she directed Aurora's point defense systems. The ship's true weapons emerged from their hidden configurations, revealing technology that the Council had never seen before. Target locked, Hume announced calmly. Initiating countermeasure sequence. Aurora's response was devastating in its precision. Instead of the expected barrage of return fire, precise quantum beams struck the incoming plasma torpedoes. The torpedoes didn't explode. They simply ceased to exist, their energy absorbed and redirected through systems that the Council scientists would spend decades trying to understand. Engineer Yang's voice carried a note of satisfaction as she reported, energy absorption at optimal levels. Quantum capacitors charged and ready. The Stellar Blade's crew responded with increasing desperation, launching their full weapons complement. The massive destroyer's hull blazed with energy as it brought all its guns to bear on the seemingly insignificant human vessel. But Aurora was no longer where they were firing. The ship phased in and out of normal space, appearing at impossible angles, each movement bringing it closer to its massive opponent. Lieutenant Hume's targeting systems didn't miss a single shot, methodically dismantling the Stellar Blade's defenses with surgical precision. Their shields are adapting, AI reported through the neural link. Adjusting quantum frequencies. Captain Choi nodded. Engineer Yang, initiate Protocol Omega. Yang's hands blurred across her console as she activated Aurora's most closely guarded secret. The ship's quantum core pulsed with energy that their sensors couldn't even detect, let alone defend against. The Stellar Blade's shields flickered and died, not from overwhelming force, but from subtle manipulations of the quantum field they existed within. Their own energy was turned against them, creating cascading failures throughout their systems. By the first ones, Dren's voice had lost all its previous arrogance. What are you? Aurora's final attack was almost gentle. Precise quantum beams, severed key power conduits, carefully calculated to disable without destroying. The mighty Stellar Blade, pride of the Council fleet, drifted powerless in space, its crew unable to comprehend how thoroughly they had been defeated. The entire engagement had lasted exactly 13 minutes and 42 seconds. Aurora hovered near the disabled destroyer, her hull unmarked, her systems running at optimal efficiency. Through the neural link, Captain Choi felt his crew's mixture of pride and relief. They had trained for this moment, but executing it perfectly was still an achievement. Engineering reports all systems nominal, Yang announced, her fingers still dancing across her console as she monitored the quantum core's power levels. We could do this all day, Captain. Lieutenant Yoon allowed herself a small smile as she reported, target neutralized with minimal structural damage. Their crew complement is unharmed. Send rescue ships, Captain Choi commanded, his voice carrying no trace of triumph or arrogance. They'll need help restoring power to their life support systems. Through the quantum feed, Admiral Park's voice reached them from Earth Command. Well done, Aurora. You've just changed the balance of power in the galaxy. As rescue vessels approached the disabled Stellar Blade, its crew watched in stunned silence as Aurora's true form finally revealed itself. The seemingly solid hull shifted and flowed like liquid metal, its actual size and configuration becoming clear for the first time. High Marshal Dren's final transmission before being evacuated was recorded and would be studied for generations. We thought we were testing them. We never realized they were testing us. The battle would indeed be discussed in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come, but not as an example of superior firepower or overwhelming force. Instead, it would be remembered as the day humanity showed the galaxy that true power lay not in size or strength, but in innovation, precision, and the courage to think beyond established limits. Captain Choi stood on Aurora's bridge, watching the rescue operations through the ship's quantum sensors. ARIA begin compiling battle data for analysis. I have a feeling the Council will have many questions about what they've just witnessed. Already done, Captain, the AI responded, though I suspect it will take them quite some time to understand what they've seen today. The crew of Aurora maintained their battle stations, professional to the end, even as they made history. They had just demonstrated that humanity's path to the stars would be unlike anything the galaxy had expected. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. The normally bustling chamber, filled with the sounds of hundreds of species discussing the fate of civilizations, was completely silent as the battle recordings played on the massive holographic display. Ambassador Li Jinwu stood at the center of the chamber, his posture relaxed but dignified as he watched his fellow council members' reactions. The recording showed Aurora's dance through space again and again, each viewing revealing new details that made the assembled representatives gasp or murmur in disbelief. Supreme Counselor Krath's metallic scales had lost their usual luster as he watched the stellar blade, pride of the Council fleet, rendered helpless by a ship a third its size. His voice, when he finally spoke, carried none of its previous condescension. In light of this demonstration, Krath announced, each word carefully measured, we move to immediately withdraw all proposed sanctions against Earth. Furthermore, we recognize humanity's right to continue its military development without oversight. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices as various species representatives tried to speak at once. Some demanded explanations of the technology they had witnessed, others called for immediate diplomatic negotiations with Earth. Admiral Park, standing beside Ambassador Li, allowed herself a small smile as she watched the chaos unfold. Her neural link to Aurora provided a constant stream of updates as more and more species requested information about possible military cooperation. The Arcturus Confederation has just submitted their third request for a technology exchange program, she whispered to Li. That makes 17 species in total, and it's only been 6 standard days since the demonstration. Li nodded slightly, his expression remaining diplomatic, but his eyes twinkling with satisfaction. And how many of them had previously voted in favor of the sanctions? All of them, Park replied, her smile widening just a fraction. Above them, the holographic display showed Aurora's final maneuver again, the moment when the ship's true nature was revealed. The council members watched in renewed amazement as the seemingly solid hull transformed, quantum fields and metamaterials working in harmony to demonstrate capabilities that their best scientists were still struggling to explain. Meanwhile, aboard Aurora herself, the crew had gathered in the officers' lounge for a well-deserved celebration. The room's windows showed the stunning view of Earth rising over the lunar horizon, a sight that never failed to remind them what they were fighting to protect. Captain Choi stood at the center of the gathering, holding a glass of traditional rice wine. Around him, his crew, the men and women who had helped change the galaxy's understanding of what was possible, waited for his words. To humanity, he said simply, raising his glass, and to showing the galaxy that size isn't everything. Engineer Yang, her hands finally still after days of explaining their technology to amazed council scientists, added her own toast. To Aurora, who danced among the stars and showed them all what we can do. Lieutenant Yoon smiled as she raised her glass, thinking of the council gunners who still couldn't believe their targeting systems had been so thoroughly outmaneuvered. To innovation, and to never accepting limitations others try to place on us. Through the ship's neural network, Aria joined the celebration in her own way, creating a subtle light show across the lounge's ceiling that mimicked Aurora's quantum field patterns during the battle. The story of Aurora would indeed be told for generations, but not just as a tale of military victory. It would be remembered as the moment when humanity proved that true advancement came not from overwhelming force or ancient traditions, but from daring to think differently. In the days that followed, as Earth's diplomatic corps worked overtime to handle a flood of cooperation requests, Admiral Park received one final message that made her laugh out loud. It was from High Marshal Dren and contained only 5 words. "You were testing us all along." The message marked the beginning of a new era in galactic politics, where humanity's voice would carry weight not through threats or intimidation, but through the respect earned by showing the galaxy a better way forward. As Aurora orbited Earth, her quantum core humming quietly, her crew knew they had done more than win a battle. They had opened the door to a future where innovation and understanding would shape the stars, and humanity would help lead the way.